It's 2 a.m. and you're replaying that conversation from 3 days ago, analyzing every word you said, wondering if you sounded stupid. If your brain feels like a browser with 47 tabs open and all of them are playing different anxiety soundtracks, you need to hear this. Here's the thing about overthinking. It doesn't make you weird or broken. It actually makes you completely normal. In fact, research shows that the average person has about 6,200 thoughts per day, and for overthinkers, a huge chunk of those are just reruns. The same worries, the same scenarios, the same mental loops playing on repeat. But why does your brain do this? Why can't it just shut up and let you enjoy your life? That's exactly what we're going to explore today. I'm going to break down the actual psychology behind overthinking, what's happening in your brain, why it happens, and most importantly, what you can do about it. Because understanding the mechanism is the first step to breaking the cycle. Let's dive in. Imagine you send a text and someone doesn't respond for 3 hours. Your rational brain knows they're probably just busy, but your overthinking brain? It's already written a 5-act tragedy about how they hate you, you're going to lose this friendship, and you'll die alone surrounded by cats. No offense to cats. Here's what most people don't understand about overthinking. It's not a flaw in your system. It's actually a feature that's working overtime. Your brain has this incredible survival mechanism called the negativity bias. Basically, your ancestors who worried about every rustling bush were more likely to survive than the chill ones who assumed everything was fine. So guess what? You inherited an anxious brain. The problem is, your brain can't tell the difference between a genuine threat and a social interaction that went slightly awkward. It treats both with the same level of alarm. Psychologists call this threat inflation. Your brain inflates the danger of situations that are actually pretty harmless. This matters because when you understand that overthinking is your brain's misguided attempt to keep you safe, you can start to question it. You can recognize that just because your brain is screaming danger doesn't mean there actually is danger. Now, let's talk about the actual mechanism of overthinking. There's a specific type called rumination, and it's basically when your brain gets stuck in a loop. Maybe you made a mistake at work last month. Your brain brings it up while you're showering, cooking dinner, trying to fall asleep. You analyze what you should have done differently. You imagine what everyone must think of you. You replay your boss's facial expression frame by frame like you're on a detective show. But here's the thing, you're not actually problem solving. You're just marinating in the discomfort. Think of it like a record with a scratch. It just keeps playing the same section over and over. You're not solving anything, you're not getting new insights, you're just circling the same problem from every possible angle. Here's what's happening in your brain. There's a network called the default mode network that activates when you're not focused on the outside world. It's responsible for self-reflection, memory, and planning. Sounds useful, right? And it is, until it gets hijacked by anxiety. Then it becomes the default worry network. This matters because rumination doesn't just feel bad, it actively makes your mental health worse. Research shows it's a major predictor of depression and anxiety. The more you ruminate, the more you train your brain to ruminate. If you believe that thinking harder will lead to better outcomes, then you are wrong. It won't. There's actually a psychological concept called analysis paralysis, and it's when overthinking prevents you from taking action. Your brain tricks you into believing that if you just think about it a little bit more, you'll find the perfect solution, the perfect words, the perfect decision. But perfect doesn't exist, and while you're trapped in your head searching for it, life is passing you by. After you've considered the main factors, additional thinking doesn't improve the quality of your decision, it just increases your anxiety about it. Think about it. Have you ever overthought something so much that you became less clear about what to do, not more clear? This is why overthinking is so frustrating. It feels productive, but it's actually the opposite. You're burning mental energy without forward movement. You're running on a treadmill.
A huge part of overthinking is about control, or more accurately, the illusion of control.
Your brain believes that if it thinks through every possible outcome, it can somehow prevent bad things from happening. Spoiler alert, it can't. Overthinkers tend to have low tolerance for uncertainty. According to neuroscience, uncertainty activates the same brain regions as physical pain. So your brain tries to eliminate uncertainty by thinking through every scenario, preparing for every possibility, always having a plan B, C, D, and E. But life is inherently uncertain, and no amount of mental preparation will change that. Maybe you're worried about your health. Instead of going to the doctor, you spend hours researching symptoms online, convincing yourself you have 12 different diseases. The overthinking feels like you're addressing the problem, but you're actually avoiding the one thing that would give you actual answers. As long as you're using overthinking as a coping mechanism, you'll stay stuck. Real control comes from taking action, not from thinking about taking action. Imagine you're at a party and you say something that feels awkward. You spend the rest of the night replaying it, convinced everyone thinks you're an idiot. But here's what's actually happening. Most people didn't even notice, and the few who did, they forgot about it 30 seconds later because someone offered them pizza. This is social overthinking. This is when you replay social interactions, analyze what people meant by certain comments, worry about how you came across, or rehearse future conversations until you've scripted every possible response. Social overthinking often creates the very outcomes you're worried about. Psychologists call this a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you're convinced someone doesn't like you, you act awkward around them. When you're overthinking how to respond to a text, you take so long that the person wonders if something's wrong. Your anxiety about being weird actually makes you act weirder. Social overthinking is exhausting and isolating. You end up avoiding social situations because your brain makes them feel so dangerous. But connection is one of the most important things for mental health. So your overthinking is actually preventing you from getting what you need. Okay, so now you understand why your brain won't shut up. But what can you actually do about it? Here are a few techniques that are backed by psychology. When you catch yourself overthinking, set a timer for 2 minutes. Give yourself full permission to think about the thing during those 2 minutes. Really dig in. But when the timer goes off, you're done. Shift your attention to something else. And it needs to be something that requires focus, like a puzzle, a conversation, or a task. When you're spiraling, ask yourself, so what? And follow the thought to its logical conclusion. For example, I made a mistake in that email. So what? My coworker will think I'm unprofessional. So what? They'll tell my boss. So what? I might get fired. So what? I'll find another job. Often when you follow the overthinking to its actual conclusion, you realize that even the worst-case scenario is survivable. This technique, used in cognitive behavioral therapy, helps you see that your catastrophic thinking is just that, catastrophic, not realistic. This sounds counterintuitive, but it works. Set aside 15 to 20 minutes each day as your designated worry time. When overthinking pops up during the day, tell yourself, I'll think about that during worry time, and write it down. Then, during your scheduled time, address those worries. By doing this, you're not suppressing the thoughts, which doesn't work anyway, but you're also not letting them run wild all day. Research shows that this technique significantly reduces overall anxiety levels. When you're stuck in your head, bring yourself back to your body with this sensory exercise. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This technique works because overthinking happens in the abstract future or past. By anchoring yourself in the present moment through your senses, you interrupt the rumination cycle. It's basically a pattern interrupt for your brain. Look, overthinking isn't going to disappear overnight. And honestly, a little bit of thinking ahead and reflecting on your experiences is healthy. The goal isn't to turn off your brain, it's to turn down the volume. Your thoughts are not facts. Just because your brain is telling you a story doesn't mean that story is true. Just because you're worried doesn't mean there's something to worry about. Your brain is doing its best with the programming it has, but you can teach it new patterns. Which of these techniques are you going to try first? Let me know in the comments. I read all of them, and I love hearing what resonates with people. Also, do not forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. And hey, if you're really struggling with overthinking to the point where it's impacting your daily life, please reach out to a mental health professional. There's no shame in getting support. Sometimes we need more than YouTube videos, and that's completely okay. Your brain might not shut up completely, but you can definitely teach it to speak a little more quietly.